Chairman Bennie Thompson presses Trump administration officials on explosive claims about domestic terrorism and immigration, demanding facts instead of political talking points. What follows is a tense exchange that exposes gaps between sweeping accusations and the evidence needed to justify them.
Is the #1 domestic terrorist organization operating in the United States. I just need to know where they are, how many people. I don't want a name, I don't want anything like that. Just how many people have you identified with the FBI that Antifa is made of?
Well, the investigations are active.
Sir, you wouldn't come to this committee and say something you can't prove, I know. I know you wouldn't do that. But you did. Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
it was a terrorist attack.
Wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He
respond.
shot our National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question? It was an unfortunate situation, but you blamed it solely on Joe Biden. I want you to know who approved the asylum application for this same person.
Mr. Thompson, this individual that came into the country.
No, I want to know who approved.
Congressman Thompson, I want you to understand. When this individual came into the country, he came under evacuation of Afghanistan under Operation Allies Welcome, was thoroughly vetted by the Biden administration at that point in time, allowed into our country, and then was never followed up. I want to remind everybody in Congress.
Reclaim my time.
We follow the law. And every asylum is supposed to have a check-in every single year, and the Biden administration failed to do that. They vetted this individual, allowed them into our country, and did not do due diligence.
Witness will allow the gentleman to ask his question.
Yes or no? Who approved the asylum claim?
The application on the asylum was thoroughly filled out by information that was gathered by the Biden administration.
So the Biden administration approved the asylum.
The asylum application was put into place under the rules established by the Biden administration.
Reclaiming my time. I don't want to file perjury charges against you, but I'm of the opinion that the Trump administration, DHS, your DHS, approved the asylum application.
The asylum application moved forward under all of the information and vetting processes that were put in place under the Biden administration, which is when vetting happened. And that's what President Trump has changed. Under President Trump's administration.
Reclaim my time again.
When
it's obvious you don't want to answer the question. Mr. Kent, you want a shot at it?
The individual was vetted to serve as a soldier in Afghanistan, and that vetting standard was used by the Biden administration as a ruse to bring him here. Had we followed the standard operating procedures for special immigrant visas, that individual and none of the Allies Welcome people would have come to America. That's on Joe Biden.
Gentlemen's time has expired.
This exchange between Chairman Bennie Thompson and Trump administration witnesses, Kristi Noem, Michael Glasheen, and Joe Kent, captures a sharp clash over truth, accountability, and the politicization of national security. At its core, Thompson is not disputing that domestic extremism or immigration failures can pose serious risks. Instead, he is testing whether the administration's most forceful claims can withstand basic scrutiny when placed under congressional oversight. What unfolds is a revealing example of how assertions made for political impact can unravel when officials are asked to substantiate them with facts. The discussion begins with domestic terrorism, where Thompson asks a straightforward and reasonable question. If Antifa is being designated as the #1 domestic terrorist threat, then where is it based, how is it structured, and how many members does it have? These are not classified details or operational secrets. They are the minimum factual foundations required to justify such a sweeping designation. Yet the witnesses struggle to provide even approximate answers. Antifa is described as the most immediate violent threat compared to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, but at the same time characterized as fluid, undefined, and still under investigation. This contradiction is precisely what Thompson highlights. A government cannot credibly label an entity as the top terrorist threat while admitting it cannot identify its size, leadership, or geographic footprint. Thompson's frustration reflects a deeper concern that threat assessments are being shaped by presidential rhetoric rather than intelligence-driven analysis. As the exchange intensifies, the implications become clearer. Declaring an organization a domestic terrorist threat is not symbolic. It has real consequences for surveillance, law enforcement priorities, civil liberties, and public trust. Thompson is signaling that Congress cannot responsibly allow such powers to expand when the justification appears vague and politically convenient. His remark that the witness wouldn't come to this committee and say something you can't prove is both a challenge and an indictment, suggesting that the administration is asking Congress to accept conclusions without evidence. The hearing then pivots to immigration and asylum, following the killing of a National Guardsman. Here again, Thompson presses for clarity and accountability. He asks who approved the asylum application of the individual involved, a direct question aimed at establishing responsibility. Instead of a clear answer, witnesses repeatedly redirect blame to the Biden administration, Operation Allies Welcome, and prior vetting procedures. The answer becomes increasingly convoluted, mixing past policies with present authority in a way that avoids acknowledging decisions made under the current Department of Homeland Security. Thompson's repeated reclamation of time underscores his belief that evasion is being used to escape accountability. Joe Kent's intervention reinforces the same pattern. He reframes the issue entirely as a failure of Biden-era vetting and Afghan evacuation standards, asserting that the individual should never have been admitted in the first place. While this may reflect a policy disagreement, it still does not answer Thompson's central question. Who approved the asylum claim under the current system? The inability, or unwillingness, to provide a direct response raises the very concern Thompson hints at when he mentions perjury. His point is not rhetorical. It is about whether Congress is being given accurate testimony or partisan narratives. Taken together, this exchange illustrates a broader problem in contemporary governance. National security and immigration are being framed in absolutist, politically charged terms, while the underlying facts remain contested or obscured. Thompson's role in this moment is less about scoring points and more about defending the principle that extraordinary claims require clear evidence. When officials cannot define a terrorist organization they rank as the top threat, or clearly explain who approved a consequential asylum decision, it undermines confidence in both policy and leadership. The hearing ultimately exposes a troubling gap between public declarations and institutional accountability, one that, if left unaddressed, risks weakening both national security decision-making and democratic oversight itself.